What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, here to talk to you guys today about the new Tom Clancy game reveal, XDefiant. Yes, I did cut my hair. It was time. It's also time for you guys to subscribe to the channel because I'm close to 4,000 subs and I'd really appreciate your support. And now that I cut my hair, my head's cold, I'm gonna have to buy more hats. And by subscribing, you're gonna help me get more views, which would in theory give me more monetization, which will in turn allow me to buy more hats. That's my pitch. So we got a 15-minute today world premiere of this Tom Clancy's game. It's an Ubisoft original, and it's going to basically be a mashup of Tom Clancy universes all into one game that honestly looks like it borrows the most from Far Cry New Dawn. So it's that kind of weird post-apocalyptic, almost got an element of punk to it. It's going to take place in a universe like that, where you're going to see lots of bright colors and crazy graffiti and wild hairstyles and crazy guns. And it's going to be a 6v6 competitive free-to-play shooter. Right now, they've only announced 4 different classes. They have a different name for them, but essentially you're gonna have, let's see if I can find it here, a Defiance. So that you have your individual character is known as a Defiant, and then you have a faction. So factions and Defiance, it really doesn't matter. The factions is probably what you care about the most. There's 4 that are gonna be available at launch. I'm reading them right here off their official website. You're going to get the Wolves, which everybody knows from Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. Interestingly enough, they dropped the Breakpoint name. It's just Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. You're going to get Team Echelon, which is most famous from Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, which yet another non-Splinter Cell game. You're going to get the Outcasts and also the Cleaners, and those were from The Division. So out of all those factions, I think I'm most interested in the Wolves. I really think the Wolves aesthetic is really cool. I think the Cleaners could be pretty cool as well. But these are kind of like your basic faction templates. One will be more based on ranged combat. One will be based more on healing. One will be more based on tanking. And it's going to be up to you and your friends to put together a killer squad of 6 in order to defeat the other team. You'll be able to freely change in between deaths as you respawn. So if you're starting off as a tank and you're not really feeling it, you can easily switch to something else. This obviously borrows a lot from the Overwatch series. Well, I say series, they're still only in the first one, but that hero-based shooter, that class-based shooter, that no matter how good you are, you're going to be put in a situation where you are not going to be able to perform well if you are not relying on teammates and if you are not using the map and the objectives and all the great tools to your advantage. Now, they were very specific in this game, and they said probably 6 times in 15 minutes, which let me tell you was a lot because there wasn't really a lot to chew on here. They were very, very, very specific and clear, and they said this is a shooter first and foremost. We want to be very clear, this is a shooter. The game will live and die on its shooting mechanics. The game will live and die on its shooting aesthetics. So we'll see. I can say, as somebody who has played a lot of Overwatch and has moved on, while it is obviously important to hit your shots, it was even more important to be in positions that made you a better player, to be around other players who you could kind of synergize with. Obviously, everyone remembers playing Overwatch with Reinhardt standing at the front line, kind of pushing the line with probably a Mercy behind him, constantly healing him, and then you had some snipers and some range shooters behind you, kind of pushing the pile forward. This game says it will feature a large variety of maps as well as objective-based game modes like Team Deathmatch, Domination, and Escort. So in the Team Deathmatch, that's the only game mode I can honestly say that, okay, maybe I'm a little bit wrong in my thought process here. Maybe it will rely a lot less on classes, because in Team Deathmatch, you're not going to be expected to just be a big zerg of people kind of moving from area to area. And I really would see in a game like this that you're going to be in situations where you're a healer facing one-on-one against the tank, and you got to feel like each of those matchups does have a competitive element to it. So I'm not really quite sure how the balancing of this game is going to quite work out. Overwatch very clearly said this is not a balanced game. However, the collective of the team should be that of the equal of the collective of the other team. But these one-on-one matches aren't going to work. So I'm really, really curious about that. As somebody who predominantly likes to play healer, I can tell you guys it's sometimes kind of boring because I can't really do a lot of damage. If I'm playing like a Lucio, I'm just kind of standing there watching the combat, making sure my teammates are staying alive. It also follows true in like a MOBA type thing where if you're playing, like I play Heroes of the Storm, playing as a healer class there, I'm not going to be able to do much damage. I'm just going to kind of stand by and idly watch while everybody else is fighting and try to heal them and put shields down at the last second to keep them alive and have them fight. So I'll be really curious to see if going into this game, just how much of that balancing takes place. From what I saw, it looks okay. It's going to be a free-to-play game, so you can expect there's going to be a slew of like loot crates and the typical Ubisoft microtransaction stuff. If there's a reasonable way to earn stuff where you don't feel like you constantly have to feed into the machine, maybe it could be something worthwhile. They were very clear that this is an evolving, growing game that they don't plan on abandoning anytime soon. We've heard that before, not just from Ubisoft, but from other game companies, where they basically said, look, this is an evolving, universe. We want to get you in and build you up and make you play more. In that sense, I do believe the gun combat is going to make this game or break this game. If it doesn't feel good to control each character, and I assume there's a lot of different guns, which they were also clear that the guns are going to be based on very realistic Tom Clancy situations. So you're going to expect all the attachments from like a Rainbow Six level of detail to weapons. Obviously, you have a lot of gunplay in pretty much every Tom Clancy game. They were very clear that that is going to come over to this game. So don't expect like a goop gun or some kind of nonsensical weird weapon that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's where I think it's going to find its niche. You're going to have more of a tactical and team-based play at the same time. I know we already have that in Rainbow Six Siege, but it seems like with the invention or the introduction of these hero classes, it's going to change the gameplay to make it something very distinctly different. I'm curious. I am a huge Tom Clancy fan. I have been a Tom Clancy fan for an incredibly long time. I love anything with his name on it because typically it reminds me of these kind of more tactical shooters. And I've talked a lot on this channel about my love for The Division and for Ghost Recon and Breakpoint and maybe a little bit of Breakpoint, definitely Wildlands. And I love when Tom Clancy games can give you that look and feel of a tactical shooter where you feel like your decisions matter on the battlefield and where you feel like your equipment will really make or break some of the competitive engagements you get into. I'll close with this. Ubisoft, other than Rainbow Six Siege, has had a really hard time gaining traction in this space. They had their MOBA game Hyperscape or Hyperspeed. No one remembers the name because nobody plays it. It's probably dead. I'm not really sure. They added that 4v4 mode in I can't even talk today. Ghost Recon, they added in that 4v4 mode where it was kind of like a little competitive shooter. That never gained any traction. You don't really see much PvP in The Division. Typically it's PvE and you're just facing waves and waves of bullet sponge enemies, so you're not really seeing that either. So I feel like Ubisoft is kind of in uncharted waters in this competitive shooter space to make it actually interesting and fun. I'll be curious to see if they can pull it off. Obviously, this is a big investment, and this almost feels like a greatest hits of Tom Clancy heroes and villains. So they have the star power there. It's just, do they have the payoff? And that's what we're going to have to wait and see on. So there is an open beta that will be going on, or I don't know. They're going to start some sort of beta in the next month for PC players. Everybody else in the console, probably not till early 2022. I will post a link to their official website in the description below if you want to sign up. Definitely, I did sign up, so when I get in, I will report back and give you guys my thoughts on that. But for now, that's going to close out this video. That's it for me. We'll see what XDefiant brings. It's not Splinter Cell. We're all a little sad, but that's that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.